welcome back to By George from Page to Stage for what is probably the very last ever episode.
Probably.
It's a one-off special. And what have we been doing in the many months since the last one, Rich?
It's been extraordinary. I mean, what we did was take the show, we abridged the show and took it to Bridlington. There's a line in Yorkshire Born and Bred which is very prescient. It went from Huddersfield to Brid. And that is what we did. We took the show from Huddersfield, the glorious Lawrence Batley Theatre, and we took it to Bridlington to perform at the Noda North East. They used to call it a conference, now they call it a gala event.
Yeah, it's very much a glad rags and all sorts of crazy workshops and things that you don't really get to see when you're normally just a part of NODA, do you?
No, that's right. I mean, everyone had beautiful gowns on, especially the men.
That was his favourite part, strangely.
Endless parades of people with their dickies out. It was amazing. So we had a wonderful time. The hard truth is that we had to abridge it from 2 hours 30 to 1 hour ish.
Yeah, so before we get on to how you actually managed to cut down a 2.5 hour musical into an hour-long version and have it still not only make sense, but spoiler alert for later on in the podcast, be enormously well received. What was the actual reasoning behind that? How did NODA approach you and Woodhouse about taking an abridged version to the former conference, now Gala Ball?
NODA just approached us to do a show there. It didn't have to be the show because they didn't have the time to do that within their weekend. So what we decided to do very early on was not just do a concert party version of the show, which would have been very easy, just to do the songs.
The greasy mega mix.
Yeah, that's right. You just or the Joseph mega mix. You just stand up in a line and everyone sings something. And it's fine. It works. It works okay. But what we said was we'd like it to be a showcase for the show because we felt we could do it within the budget that they gave us. Yeah, it wasn't a huge budget, but it wouldn't be for a cabaret show. But it was a very tight one for what turned into a full-scale musical. What we also decided to do was keep as much of the storylines as we could, and we decided not to have a narrator, which meant that a lot of the songs had to be cut down, a lot of the dialogue had to be axed, and a lot of the jokes went as a consequence. But it still managed to be funny and fresh, and it felt really vibrant. And because a few people that were in the original cast were performing in Hairspray with Huddersfield Light Opera.
Yeah, of course.
And we had to take about 4 people out of the cast in order to do the show. The majority came back, including all the principals, so we were delighted that no one had to learn much. And some people stepped in, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, it was a funny one. It was we went on a bit of a social walk. God knows how long ago that was now. Many months ago.
We did lots of walks because we weren't doing a show at that point.
Because everyone missed each other and they just wanted to see one another.
And we like the social.
And then, if I remember rightly, we all went on this big long walk. And then you obviously don't drink. I was driving. Neil had a few wines. Let's say. Yeah, maybe. And that's when the refried, as we've kind of branded it up for this abridged version. That's when the refried kind of group chat formed, didn't it? And I just remember sort of saying, oh, well, what are you going to do when you don't have Steve and Johnny at the bar? Yeah. And then Neil was like, oh, well, I don't know. And then I just went, well, I'll do it. Yeah. And then I turned up to the first rehearsal and he'd completely forgotten that I said I was going to do it. So yeah, just, one rehearsal in and I went, okay, I'll do this. I'll learn it all. Then obviously I went off and did Jesus Christ Superstar. You guys did.
We did Boogie Nights in the interim. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we all came back together, somehow managed to sandwich in some fish and chips into this abridged version, take it to NODA. And then how did the audience receive it?
It was rapturous. We genuinely didn't know what to expect. First of all, okay, we tried the show here, and it worked every single night. We had a standing ovation.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's nothing you can guarantee. And you do worry that the standing ovation may be because, people know us here.
They're your friends.
Yeah, they're supporting us.
Lots and lots of friends, 400 friends a night.
Yeah, well, this is it. And this is the paranoia you get into. But we didn't know how it was going to go.
No.
Myself and Maria ached over, is it going to be funny enough? Have we taken out the funny?
Yeah.
Because you do worry when you have to halve the show.
Oh, more than half.
More than half it. And see what was left. Fortunately, it was rapturous. You were there.
Oh, it was strange to be on the other side of it, really. Last time, if you listen to the to the original cast recording.
Now available on YouTube.
Yes, indeed. And Spotify.
Yes, and everything.
And everywhere else that this podcast is on as well.
Indeed.
Ellie and I were listening to it on the drive to well, actually,
on the drive to Brid.
Yeah, on the drive to Brid, primarily because I needed to make sure I knew the lyrics, because I obviously never learnt them the first time, but because I was in and around the podcast, and because I came to see nearly every single performance, they were kind of already roughly there anyway. But yeah, if you notice at the end of the cast recording, right at the end after the reprise of Yorkshire Born and Bred, the loudest first cheer that you hear is definitively mine, and I can tell it is. And so this time to be on the receiving end of that rapturous applause and that standing ovation, it was very special.
saw the effect of that opening number. Yorkshire Born and Bred has really served us very well. From a song that wasn't going to be in the show at one point.
Absolutely the right
Find
call to do it.
Previous podcasts for details. You notice just what a great shoe-in that song is.
There was quite a few of the cast actually said to me that they had the exact same feeling of kind of nervousness, because it was almost like they were portraying the character for the first time all over again.
Yes, because it was to a new audience.
Yeah, I mean, there
and
was
an
probably
audience of their peers.
Yeah, there was probably a few members of the audience who'd come and seen the original, but like you're talking a very small percentage.
Yeah, we should explain. The Northern Operatic and Dramatic Association, which we called NODA, they are the ones that came to see the show, reviewed the show.
Yep.
We are proud members of NODA, very much so. They've been with me since I started in musical theatre. So and they've been incredibly supportive, and they're the ones that pushed us to say, oh, this would be really good for the NODA Festival, something new.
Turned out they were right as well.
Yes, so, bless them.
Who'd have thought?
That's got to credit Les Smith though, that, and also Joe Sykes who really pushed, and Darren. They've been immaculate, really, really wonderful, very supportive.
Yeah. So you had to cut down the show from 2.5 hours to an hour.
Yeah.
You lost a few characters.
We lost a few numbers.
Were there any additions though?
Yes. when we'd finished the run of By George, it suddenly occurred to me that I'd made a colossal mistake. And that was with Naomi's character, Marge.
Yep.
So called because
she's easily spread.
The reason I'd sort of got Marge in a bin and covered in batter at the end of the show was that I thought that would be the kiss-off. But of course, in musicals, the kiss-off is that someone has a closing melody that reprises what they've done before.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be a standard thing in musicals. And I can't believe I didn't do it.
The first time, yeah.
Did you feel it? Well, I did a fresh one for Naomi.
Put a fresh one in.
Well, it kind of hacked together some of the dialogue. I didn't do it for the hour-long performance. We did it for it's in the whole show now. It's in the full version.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's because it's the reprise. It's the payoff of My Friends. It's the same tune, and yet this is the one where she just dismisses all her friends, calls them saggy old hippies, and tells them to bugger off. And so, Naomi learnt it and sold it beautifully. I think of all the people that had extra work, Naomi's the one that had it.
Because she still had all of her quick changes, all her costumes.
And the quick changes were even quicker because you had less dialogue to do them.
Oh, God,
so everything was quite frenetic. But yes, that for me was the only real addition to the show. And it was born out of necessity because it made Naomi's closing bit shorter. And it gave her something to sing as she was being wheeled off in the bin.
I love that she delivered that song while she's covered in batter and a handful of stale day-old chips that Gareth had plonked on her head too.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'll have you know they were fresh chips.
Well,
yes. They were 3 hours old and they were cold.
Yeah, that's true.
And one of them wasn't chips. He'd put a whole fish on her head. And we've got videos of it, him just going...
And of course, actually, that was my extra little role that I added because we needed to have the 4D experience like we had here. So I went round and took those fish and chips.
Oh, you did.
Very quickly. Worked up quite a sweat running around that theatre. Didn't know where I was going, mind.
It wasn't just the cast that went. Of course, we had wonderful helpers too. Matthew and Preeti went round and put the programmes out, and they were there supporting us throughout the night.
They did.
The gorgeous Paige was there, just screaming us on and cheering us. And
Ned as well.
And Ned was
there.
Her. Yeah, we had lovely people in the wings as well. Alan, El Presidente, was there. Sue was there for costumes, and I mean. One thing, unfortunately, do you remember Claire Raitt? She's brilliant, and she does so well in the committee.
She was there at the start.
Yes.
And then what happened?
She got ill.
Oh my God!
About 3 hours before the show began, she suddenly she'd been there for the previous night. So I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just a 24-hour bug.
Oh God!
Nonetheless, it hit her hard, and she says, "I can't do this. I can't be far away from a toilet for that long." And so brilliantly Becky had brought her daughter Layla along, so managed to cover for Claire, who was going to be doing the dressing. And
Lorraine as well.
Lorraine was there backstage. It wasn't it precious.
It was kind of crazy to kind of all come together and do something that had been done 18 months. And Danny Jowett, of course. How could I forget? Without Danny Jowett, there was no chance that you were falling off that bar.
No.
Because, I helped to catch you.
You did.
But I couldn't have done that by myself, to be honest.
Ever-expanding lump.
No, just for safety reasons. Just couldn't have done it by myself. True. But it was a challenge, a definitive challenge.
Yeah, it was a challenge to get the set there. We didn't take the whole set. We sort of even halved the set and took that along. I didn't want to take the full thing, which we could have done. The corporation we got from the Bridlington Spa was immense, and they would have
their crew. Massive shout out and a huge thanks to them. They were absolutely brilliant from start to finish.
They helped us helped me in with the set, helped me out with the set. They were there for Neil for putting together the music cues. They followed the script through. Admittedly, it's not a full show. It was still an hour, but it doesn't matter. They were there. It was
like doing the first act of a show. Though,
really, effectively,
with no practice, not really any training. Nope. Just shows how well the script was put together, really.
Well, thank you very much.
So
it also shows how good the orchestra was.
They were fantastic.
We had pretty much the same orchestra. Alex, our incredible pianist who was there for a lot of the rehearsals of the original show and the show itself, couldn't make it because apparently he's gone pro. Swine.
Oh, that's a shame, really.
So Alex Faulkner couldn't have been there, but we got someone who'd done a lot of Noda before and was clearly used to just stepping in, and he didn't put a beat wrong. It was extraordinary. I couldn't believe it was so good. He did brilliantly.
And of course, in charge of everybody in the orchestra,
Kira.
Still Kira, of course.
Oh, she's a godsend. Yeah. She's just wonderful.
For her to have to have flipped so quickly between shows as well, because what we haven't mentioned is the fact that she and a lot of the band, as far as I know anyway, were there for Bridlington just for the one day.
Yes.
Did the dress/tech run, did the show, and then didn't have time to enjoy the ball because they had to shoot back because then they were doing band call for Hairspray the very next morning.
Right here. In the morning.
And they did a fantastic job of that because we saw it on the Monday night.
I was there on the first night. You were there on the first night as well, weren't you? Yeah. It was miraculous. I don't know how they did it. The band was so tight.
That turnaround time to get to relearn all, be able to reread, I suppose, all of By George, but then it's a condensed version where it's not 100% the same thing.
Yeah.
And then do Hairspray. Fantastic.
Yeah. And as for the show itself, I think there are certain lines that hit this time that didn't land here.
Yeah, you finally got a laugh.
I finally got one laugh. My one laugh. I got it. It was early on, and it was
tight artery.
Yeah, there's a joke where I claim to be calling one of my customers a tight ass, but I stopped just before this and call her a tight artery, and it got a laugh for the first time. It didn't land anywhere here. We were thinking about taking it out, and yet it just happened to land on there, so it's staying in now.
Sometimes it's just the way it just happens, doesn't it?
The key laughs for me were Colin got. Colin is funny naturally. But my word, when you stick those words in his mouth, there was a line about a yogurt stuck in an airing cupboard, which has never failed.
Yeah.
The point is, with a theatre like this, which was 400, just shy of 400 people, isn't it? That we got every night in here for By George. There it was double that, so it was 720, plus. Yeah. And so if there was a laugh, it was a longer laugh, and I didn't clock that happening, but it did, and so you really had to wait for the laugh to stop before you started again.
But Colin's laughs were nowhere near as long as the laugh that we had to wait for Helen.
Yes.
And that always went down really well here because it's a series of funny jokes, one after the other.
But because there hadn't been an interval, the audience were already primed and they were waiting.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's a line where Helen has to use a squirty cream, and she shoots squirty cream from the middle because that way you get more out of it, with all the innuendo that implies. And it got a laugh. Yeah. And then she started licking her hands, and it was foul.
The laugh just kept extending and growing.
I wonder how Helen feels about that, because for me, that simple gag is all hers.
Oh, absolutely. Like the way she delivered it, was just
and has
perfect.
Always delivered it.
Yeah, we were in the wings, just kind of waiting for the next scene.
Here it
just
comes.
Trying to not squirt bits out of our middles, to be honest, from laughing so hard. Yeah. But it was perfect.
Yeah, I think every one of the characters got their moment in there, which is very pleasant. Will got his moment, our Gareth.
Yeah.
Sam said. Now.
Sam's strip, blummin' egg.
Sam's strip is one thing.
I didn't know how that was going to go down in Noda.
No, they could have been a bit tight arterage. Yes, yeah. But no, they were not. They really went for it. And Sam really went for it. But the point that I want to make about Sam is that it's 18 months since we last did the show here.
Yeah.
His voice.
Yeah.
My word.
Come on.
Oh, it was brilliant to see. I'll be perfectly honest. I think the performance we did in Bridlington, no matter whether it was a shortened performance or a long performance, was the best we've ever done that show. because the level of performance, people weren't tired from having done it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weren't bored of it. It felt really fresh, really exciting, and because we were having to rattle through it, my word,
the pace just kept on going like faster and faster.
It did.
And I think you're right with Sam as well, because he's a little bit older, he's a bit more confident. He's gone to do his first year of uni,
which is a music course. So
he's really coming on and maturing as a performer. And it was quite funny to watch him rehearsal, because he's just, instead of there being any kind of apprehension about doing it again, as soon as he started doing the strip, it was just, oh, Sam's come out.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is. There are the gold hot pants. They're back again. And Ellie got a face full, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did.
Poor Ellie. She's had to suffer that. Hey-ho.
Luckily, the costume was fresh this time.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mentioned the rehearsals and the fact that it didn't feel stayed, and that's mainly because for the last 2 weeks of the rehearsals, Neil had brilliantly set. We had a month to do the show, to get the show ready as was, and the first 2 weeks. He'd managed to reset the whole show. Yep. Everyone had clearly done their homework, and for that I am eternally grateful.
And then it was just slotting people in,
doing bits, redoing a bit of choreography because the bar wasn't quite in the same place, or things, and resetting the numbers, and everyone just clicked straight in.
Pump It Out was the most challenging one, wasn't it? Because you'd taken, was it one of the whole verses you'd taken?
Oh yes.
So instead of having the 4 rotations in those verses,
Neil had to effectively
figure out how to do it a different way.
But people latched onto it very quickly and just did it, which was great. Because in the last 2 weeks we had so many illnesses, more than I've ever known for any show.
Yeah, I mean, I was ill as well. Yeah, I went from being ill to then having another different type of illness, and I think there's a few people caught the same thing.
My interpretation of it is that people can delay being ill. Well, if you've got a show, bear in mind we'd just done Boogie Nights, and then the next day we were back. No, we given 1 day off, and then the next day we were back rehearsing for another show. And I think you can somehow mentally hold off a lot of illnesses and go on adrenaline,
or you can at least kind of like offset how bad it kind of gets.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we'd done that. Yeah. And then we hit the rehearsal period for By George, and everyone suddenly went, I really can't do this. I haven't got the strength to battle it off again. Yeah. And so once we got it set, I think suddenly people went, and that's when the illnesses started. Nikki had a back issue. Helen had a back issue. Neovia had problems. It was immeasurable, and of course, whenever someone is away from a rehearsal, someone has to step in and do it. By the end, Neil had done every role. Yeah, he'd gone through every role.
Which was his favourite? Did you ask?
I know he enjoyed most being Pauline.
Right, of course. Because he got to kiss Gareth.
He got to kiss Gareth.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And dance with Sam, and it's just insane. But Neil was as he always is. The real binding factor.
He was the Swiss Army knife,
and he just doesn't get the credit he deserves. He doesn't, because he doesn't want it. He never takes it.
I don't know how
he doesn't like doing bows and things like that.
I don't know how he managed to kind of like reteach himself how to direct and choreograph the new abridged version. Yes. In fact, I remember him saying, I don't even know what that means.
No, not a clue.
Because it was kind of an 18 months ago thing.
Yes, and it meant something very specific. And I've no idea what it is anymore. But no, he did astoundingly well, as did everybody. And people asked me whether I was excited about it. Now, I don't tend to get nervous or excited, and I deem those to be in the same sort of bracket.
He definitely does get excited sometimes.
I get excited at a lot of things, but not nervously. Excited implies that I was and I was never that. What I was throughout the whole thing was just enormously proud. Yeah. Not for myself. I was very, very proud of every single person, especially Nikki, who'd gone through pain and agony to get to. There was no way she was
touch and go at one point whether or not she'd be able to do it.
She'd written a letter to myself and Neil, telling us, saying to us, I cannot do this, and I don't know how to tell you. But we said at one point it did look as if there was no way she was going to be able to do it, and hence she wrote us a letter. And Neil and I, even without looking at the letter, we thought this could fail. This could go wrong, and we discussed what to do in that occasion. And we said, we go back to plan A, which was to do a concert version of the show, and we explain why we've had to do it.
Yeah.
It would be a shame. We would still take the set, and we would tell them what was happening and where everyone was going, but we would do the show without Nicky, which is impossible.
Yeah, you can't do a show where your lead is not there.
But we can't not do a show because we said we were going to do a show.
Because you've already committed to it.
Right.
You've given them your word.
So we do something.
Budget,
we would still have had the songs. There were some great numbers in there that we could have done, but Nicky was in every number.
Yeah.
And so basically we would have deemed it a disaster.
You'd have lost the plot threads.
We'd have lost the
that
plot.
Connected it and made it make sense, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it wouldn't have been anything like. From the triumph that it was, it would have been tragic.
Oh yeah,
to bid
I think
goodbye
people
to
would
By
have been
George.
like, oh yeah.
They would have
good.
laughed. They would have clapped politely.
Yeah.
Instead of getting on their damn feet and giving us a standing ovation.
But after the standing ovation, here's what comes next, right? So the important thing was that was us as a team showcasing what Woodhouse, a musical theatre company, and the Lawrence Batley Theatre had kind of co-produced together, helping support your vision for a musical you started writing 20 plus years ago. But what happened next, Rich? When we'd finished and we got to the gala, what happened? Who spoke to you, and what did they speak to you about?
Myself and Neil and everyone who's kind of identifiable from the production team from the stage, we weren't mobbed. What happened was that because it was a long night, various people came up to us at various stages.
Sam was mobbed, but that's
Sam was
because
mobbed
people
for a
had seen him
different
take
reason.
his pants off.
This is true, and he still had the pants on.
Yes. Oh God, yeah, right.
Oh
of
yes,
course.
yes.
Yeah.
For a while.
Obviously.
Anyway, so they we were pulled to various sides. Myself, Neil, and I think Tony got pulled to one side as well. But people said that they would like to do it, and properly. I will not count my chickens until we get things signed.
So there's
on
an
the dotted
asterisk
line.
on this excitement.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's tempered excitement, just like I always do. In that, obviously, I've been waiting 18 months. If someone wants to do it, they could have taken it then, because I know a few people did see it from other societies, and I know how long the process is because people plan these shows 2 years in advance. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, and this is where the George journey ends, I ain't bothered. It was a remarkable end, and a really good lap of honour. Yeah. And it felt lovely as the Saturday show was at the LBT. Everyone was tired, and it didn't feel like it was a fresh show anymore. It felt, we're done, relief. This felt like we're done.
It was a victory lap, wasn't it?
It really was.
It was a really nice way of kind of culminating the show by not having to try and scramble to learn the full thing again, but to do a kind of a shortened, pacier, more kind of punchy and to the point version of it.
And this version lives, it is By George refried and abridged forever, and we have that as a separate file. So if anyone wants to do the hour-long show,
they can do.
Then they can.
So there you go, the schools edition.
I don't think even we could do. Blimey.
Maria's red pen would run out of ink.
It would. How long was the school edition? 5 minutes. We took everything
They
out.
sang Yorkshire Born and Bred.
That was it, really.
And that was it, yeah.
But I was thrilled, and I still am. And thank you so much for being a part of it, sir.
Do you know what? It's been lovely to be a part of it from both sides now. And I, other than you, I'm the only person who's really had that opportunity, other than our guests that we've had on, obviously. But
we've had the journey.
It's been amazing. And do you know what? I think even if people don't take it up and do it, I think this will live on as one of your favourite memories ever.
Oh, yeah.
And that is priceless.
Oh, absolutely. It isn't my first musical, that we've premiered here, but it was probably the most joyous. And who knows what's going to happen next. Speaking of which, well, surprisingly, folks, we're about to finish this podcast in about 2 minutes.
He's just checked an imaginary watch.
I'm looking at an imaginary watch again. It's called acting. In about 2 minutes, we're going to stop this podcast, and we're going to keep exactly the same clothes, exactly the same thing, and exactly
what
the same.
About? I've got a quick change.
Exactly the same boba teas, and we are going to be doing the Village Hall from page to stage. Yeah. And all you need to do to connect with that is tune in to the next podcast, which is coming up next week for you guys, and 2 minutes for us. So from me and from Matt. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye,
Bye, George.
George.